Let me tell you about a movie that takes the concept of parallel universes and runs absolutely wild with it. We are talking about a world where humanity has figured out how to travel between an infinite number of alternate realities through these spontaneous but predictable wormholes. Think of it like having a cosmic subway system, except instead of different stops in the city, you are visiting completely different versions of Earth. Now, some of these alternate Earths contain different versions of ourselves living completely different lives. There is this organization called the Multiverse Authority that basically acts as the police force across all these realities, making sure nobody abuses this incredible technology. Our story kicks off in what they call the Anubis universe. Picture Los Angeles, but with slightly more advanced technology than what we have today. The sheriff department is in the middle of what should be a routine prisoner transfer. They are moving this incredibly dangerous criminal named Lawless, and when I say dangerous, I mean this guy is the kind of person who makes hardened cops nervous. Sergeant Siegel is leading the operation, treating this transfer with the seriousness it deserves. Everything seems to be going according to plan when suddenly another prisoner decides to make a move on Lawless. But here is where we get our first hint that Lawless is not your average criminal. This guy displays incredible strength, handling the attack like it is barely an inconvenience. The man is built like a tank and moves like a fighter who has been training his entire life. They manage to get Lawless secured and start moving him through the facility toward the transport vehicle. Then, out of nowhere, bang! A single gunshot echoes through the concrete space. Lawless drops to the ground, shot clean through his protective visor. The round went straight through his head, but killing him instantly. But here is where the story takes its first major twist. The shooter steps out of the shadows, and he looks exactly like the man he just killed. This is not some long-lost twin or coincidental resemblance. This is literally another version of Lawless from a parallel universe, and he calls himself Yulaw. But this version of the character has been very, very busy across the multiverse, and it shows in ways that completely defy everything we understand about human limitations. His strength is off the charts, easily overpowering multiple armed officers at once. How did he get these incredible abilities? Well, that is where the story gets really dark. Yulaw has been systematically hunting down and killing alternate versions of himself across different universes. Every time he kills another variant of Lawless, he absorbs their life force, their strength, their speed, their very essence. He has turned murder into a method of self-improvement, and the results are terrifying. The parking garage erupts into chaos as Yulaw tears through the assembled officers like they are made of paper. These are trained law enforcement professionals with military-grade equipment, and they cannot even slow him down. In what feels like seconds, but probably lasts less than a minute, he has neutralized the entire squad and is making his escape. The Yulaw does not just run away like a normal criminal. He moves through the city at a casual 50 miles per hour, on foot. When buildings get in his way, he simply leaps over them, jumping distances and heights that would make Olympic athletes weep with envy. Fortunately, Yulaw has attracted the attention of two agents from the Multiverse Authority. These guys specialize in exactly this kind of interdimensional crime, and they have the tools and training to deal with criminals who have been enhanced by absorbing the power of their alternates. Agent Evans is the junior member of this partnership.
Just give it the go-ahead. He'll never make it to the hole.
He has only been on the job for 2 years, which in Multiverse Authority terms makes him practically a rookie. His partner Harry is the veteran, the guy who has seen it all and knows how to handle these impossible situations. For Harry gives Evans clear instructions as they pursue Yulaw through the city. They need to bring him in alive.
Bunch, I can't hear you. Do you understand that?
Loud and clear.
This is not just about following protocol or being humane, and they need Yulaw breathing to properly deal with the situation. The moment Evans gets a clear shot at their target,
Drop that weapon!
I will kill you.
No, you won't.
Harry, being the cautious and experienced agent that he is, rams their suspect with their vehicle. When you are dealing with someone who has absorbed the life force of over 100 people, you take every precaution available. Now comes one of the coolest sequences in the movie. Using what appears to be nothing more sophisticated than a wristwatch, Harry opens a wormhole directly above them. Imagine being completely disintegrated and then put back together atom by atom. It sounds like it would be incredibly painful, and probably is, but it gets them from the Anubis universe to the Alpha universe in what seems like seconds. They materialize in the middle of Multiverse Authority headquarters. The witch is apparently located in this Alpha universe. The Evans and Harry are left to recover from their molecular reconstruction while Yulaw is immediately taken into custody for his crimes. The scope of what Yulaw has done becomes clear during his processing. He has killed 123 variants of himself across different universes. Each death has made him stronger, faster, and more dangerous. By absorbing the life force and combined power of what amounts to 124 versions of Jet Li, he has become something that transcends normal human limitations. While awaiting trial, Yulaw spends his time in confinement training. He practices a martial art called Qing Yi.
What's the next move?
The maintaining his physical conditioning and probably planning his next move. The guy does not seem like the type to accept imprisonment quietly. Harry visits him in his cell, and we learn something crucial about their relationship. These two were not just professional acquaintances. Up until 2 years ago, Harry and Yulaw were actually partners in the Multiverse Authority.
Why'd you come, Harry? You miss me?
I missed who you were.
They worked together, trusted each other, and probably saved each other's lives on multiple occasions. Yulaw's sentencing hearing is attended by a woman named Macy, who honestly looks like she stepped out of a cartoon. Think Jessica Rabbit, but with a very real and dangerous agenda. She is clearly here to support Yulaw, though her presence at an official Multiverse Authority proceeding raises some questions about security. The charges are read, and Yulaw is sentenced to life imprisonment in a penal colony located in something called the Hades universe. As the name suggests, this is probably not a pleasant place to spend eternity, but Yulaw has an interesting defense strategy. He argues that you cannot technically kill yourself 123 times, which is actually a fascinating legal point when you think about it.
You call it murder. I just try to make it neat. To be one. I will be the one.
More importantly, Yulaw explains his philosophy and motivation. He believes that the purpose of the multiverse is for all variants of a person to eventually combine their energy until they become a supreme being. In his mind, he is not committing murder. He is fulfilling some kind of cosmic destiny by absorbing all versions of himself. As the authorities prepare to transport him to his prison universe, Macy makes her move. She has somehow smuggled an explosive device into the facility. When she activates it, the explosion destroys the containment room and breaks Yulaw free from his restraints. Yulaw immediately goes into action, disarming the nearest guard and systematically eliminating every threat in the room. But instead of just escaping, he takes the time to reprogram the transportation device, changing the coordinates to send him somewhere other than the prison colony. He manages to escape the Multiverse Authority facility, though he is forced to leave Macy behind. Now the story shifts to another universe entirely, one they call the Kara's universe. The scene that unfolds is eerily similar to what happened in the Anubis universe. The sheriff department is preparing for a prisoner transfer, gearing up with the same level of caution and professionalism, and the deputy sheriff handling the operation is named Gabe. Gabe looks exactly like Lawless and Yulaw because he is another variant of the same person across different universes. But Gabe is different from his Anubis counterpart in crucial ways. When Rotten Ronnie tries to stab him during the transfer, Gabe actually catches the knife. As they walk through the parking garage, Gabe starts getting what he describes as a funny feeling. That instinct saves his life when Yulaw shows up to ambush them. Gabe manages to dodge the initial gunfire and take cover behind a prison transport vehicle. When they come face to face, it is like looking in a mirror, except one reflection is trying to kill the other. The backup arrives just in time to prevent Yulaw from completing his mission, forcing him to flee the scene. But Yulaw does not leave empty-handed. As he escapes, he manages to shoot Gabe in the chest. The good news is that Gabe was wearing a bulletproof vest and survives the encounter. The bad news is that Yulaw is now aware of his location and will definitely be back to finish the job. Gabe returns home to his wife TK, who is understandably confused when her husband shows up at the door apparently uninjured. She had rushed to the hospital expecting to visit him in the intensive care unit, only to find him standing there wearing his bulletproof vest and looking perfectly fine. This creates an interesting dynamic. The Gabe is now the final known variant of himself left alive in the multiverse. Yulaw has systematically eliminated every other version, making Gabe the last target standing between Yulaw and his goal of absolute power. That night, both men spend their time training. Gabe practices his 8 tegrams palm technique, working on the martial arts skills that saved his life in the garage. The next day, Gabe visits his injured partner at the North Hollywood Medical Center. The guy barely made it out of the parking lot during the shootout with Law. Officer Yates asks Gabe for a description of his attacker, standard procedure after any violent encounter. But Gabe tells him it was too dark to see clearly. He does not want to sound crazy by explaining that his assailant looked exactly like him. Instead, he confides in his wife TK, telling her that his attacker was identical to him in every way. This revelation understandably concerns everyone around Gabe.
Before I saw him, I felt him. I felt me.
The idea that someone who looks exactly like you is trying to kill you is disturbing on multiple levels. They decide to have him undergo a brain scan to make sure he is not having some kind of psychological breakdown or hallucination. While Gabe is inside the MRI machine, Law makes his move. He infiltrates the hospital and heads straight for the scanning room. He is about to kill the technician when Harry and Evans arrive on the scene. The 2 Multiverse Authority agents have been tracking him and finally caught up. A gunfight erupts in the medical facility. Law is so fast and agile that he dodges or deflects every single bullet fired at him. The agents are using high-tech weapons and have the advantage of surprise, but it does not matter. Law has absorbed so much power that conventional weapons are essentially useless against him. The Gabe manages to free himself from the MRI machine and joins the fight alongside the agents. Working together, they come up with a clever solution to Law's speed advantage. They activate the MRI machine's powerful magnetic field, which yanks Law's gun right out of his hands. But even disarmed, Law is incredibly dangerous. He destroys the expensive medical equipment with a single elbow strike and creates a cloud of smoke to cover his escape. On his way out, he kills another officer, demonstrating that he considers human life completely expendable. The hospital's security cameras capture the entire incident, but there is a major problem. Since Law looks exactly like Gabe, the footage makes it appear that Gabe has gone completely insane. When the local police try to arrest Gabe based on this evidence, he is forced to defend himself.
You know who we are?
The one down the hallway.
What's my name, Gabe?
I was unarmed.
Do you know where you are?
What's wrong with you?
Where are you, Gabe?
Someone tried to kill me.
He overpowers and handcuffs the entire arrest team, and demonstrating strength and fighting skills that far exceed what a normal deputy sheriff should possess. He bends one officer's shotgun with his bare hands and pushes another into an elevator. Harry witnesses this display of enhanced abilities and realizes something crucial. The Gabe is sharing in Law's power. According to the laws governing the multiverse, as variants of the same person are eliminated, the remaining ones become stronger. With only 2 versions left, both Gabe and Law have absorbed a significant portion of the collective power. This creates a terrifying scenario. If Law kills Gabe, he will absorb the power of every version of himself that ever existed across all realities. That would make him essentially godlike, with power beyond anything the Multiverse Authority could handle. To maintain cosmic balance, the Multiverse Authority makes the difficult decision to capture both variants. This puts Harry in an impossible position, as he is now tasked with arresting someone who was previously an innocent victim in all of this. Harry and Evans split up to pursue their targets more effectively. Evans goes after Gabe, who manages to escape the hospital in an ambulance. Harry pursues Law, who demonstrates his intelligence by hiding in a body bag among the hospital's morgue transfers. It is a clever disguise that might have worked against a less experienced agent. But Harry knows his former partner well enough to predict this kind of tactical thinking. He intercepts Law at the morgue, cutting off his escape route. Meanwhile, Evans catches up with Gabe and is forced to explain the entire situation. Imagine trying to convince someone that parallel universes exist, that there are multiple versions of every person across different realities, and that an evil version of themselves is trying to kill them to absorb their power. It sounds like the plot of a science fiction movie, which makes it even harder to believe. Harry tries to reason with his former partner, explaining the different theories about what happens when all variants are absorbed into one person. Some scientists believe that the combined energy would be too much for any individual to contain, causing them to explode in a burst of cosmic energy. Law, however, subscribes to a different theory. He believes that successfully combining all variants would elevate him to godhood, making him a supreme being with unlimited power. From his perspective, he is not committing crimes. He is ascending to his rightful place in the cosmic order. The philosophical discussion gets cut short when Yulaw suddenly swerves their vehicle into construction equipment, totaling their transport. The both men jump out and engage in hand-to-hand combat, but this is not a fair fight by any stretch of the imagination. Yulaw has absorbed the power of over 100 variants, while Harry is just a normal human being, albeit one with extensive training and experience. The fight is completely one-sided, with Yulaw dominating every exchange. He leaves Harry beaten and broken in the middle of the street. Knowing that he is dying, the Harry makes one last desperate attempt to stop his former partner. He pulls out an explosive device, intending to blow them both up. It is a suicide mission, but if it prevents Yulaw from becoming all-powerful, Harry considers it a worthwhile sacrifice. Unfortunately, Yulaw is faster than a dying man with a detonator. He breaks Harry's neck before the explosion can be triggered, eliminating the threat and his former partner in one motion. With Harry dead, Evans finds himself as the sole Multiverse Authority agent left to handle this crisis. 3 local police officers arrive at the crash site and attempt to arrest Yulaw, not understanding what they are dealing with. In a matter of seconds, Yulaw knocks 2 officers off their motorcycles and kicks them across the street with enough force to send them flying like rag dolls. He uses one of their bikes as a weapon, swatting them away like insects. Yulaw rides to Gabe's house, where TK is waiting. She assumes he is her husband returning home and lets him inside. She even asks the officers outside to wait, not wanting to involve them in what she thinks is a private family matter. When Yulaw asks her to retrieve a pistol, TK starts to get suspicious. She decides to test him by asking about their first date, a detail that any real husband would know instantly. When Yulaw cannot answer, she realizes this is not her husband and tries to get the gun herself. But Yulaw is too fast and takes the weapon away from her. Just then, Bobby enters the house, and Yulaw shoots him dead without hesitation. TK tries to run, but there is nowhere to go. Yulaw kills her as well, eliminating the one person Gabe cares about most in the world. For Gabe arrives just in time to see Yulaw murder his wife and escape through a window. The responding police officers see Gabe at the scene and, based on the hospital footage, assume he is the killer. They chase him, but he escapes, leaving him not only grief-stricken, but also wanted for crimes he did not commit. Evans locates Gabe shortly afterward and finds him consumed with anger and grief. They pull into a service station to plan their next move. Evans shows off his high-tech weaponry, including an M5 90 shotgun loaded with explosive rounds, specifically designed to take down enhanced individuals like Yulaw. Gabe, on the other hand, has a much simpler approach. He plans to kill Yulaw with his bare hands, using nothing but his martial arts training and his rage. At the service station, they encounter the attendant, who turns out to be another variant of Harry from this universe. This gives Evans an opportunity to tell his dead partners he never got to say to the original. He thanks him for his teachings and guidance, though this version of Harry has no idea what Evans is talking about. Evans explains to Gabe that there is a third theory about what happens when all variants are combined. Some scientists believe that the resulting energy release could destroy not just the individual, but the entire universe. They head to a nearby factory where Evans knows a wormhole will open in exactly 10 minutes. The plan is to lure Yulaw there and send him through the portal to somewhere he cannot cause any more damage. It is a good plan in theory, but Yulaw has never been one to cooperate with other people's strategies. Yulaw has set a trap using the explosive device that Macy gave him earlier. When it detonates, it destroys part of the factory structure, separating Evans and Gabe. The molten metal creates a barrier between them, forcing them to face Yulaw individually rather than as a team. Evans is the first to confront the man who killed his partner. The fight is brief and brutal. The Yulaw breaks Evans's ankle, but the agent manages to escape before being killed. Yulaw pursues him relentlessly. Just as Yulaw is about to deliver the killing blow to Evans, Gabe arrives for what everyone knows will be the final confrontation. What follows is an incredible martial arts showcase.
There will be only one.
This is Jet Li fighting Jet Li. Initially, Yulaw dominates the fight. He is stronger, faster, and more ruthless than Gabe. Every exchange seems to favor him as they battle their way down to the factory floor. Gabe takes a tremendous beating. He believes he has won. He thinks he has killed Gabe and is about to ascend to godhood, absorbing the final variant's power. But Gabe is tougher than his evil counterpart anticipated. Fueled by rage over his wife's murder and a desire for justice, Gabe rises from what should have been a fatal beating. But this time, instead of fighting angry and wild, he focuses on his martial arts training. He channels his emotions into technique. The factory is exploding around them now, creating this surreal environment where destruction rains down while they continue their personal war. They fight in real time while everything else moves in slow motion. Evans, who has been hiding and keeping track of time throughout this battle, shouts out that they have 30 seconds until the wormhole opens. Eulor retrieves an axe as a last resort, but Gabe has found his rhythm now. He disarms his evil counterpart and finally defeats him in hand-to-hand combat. Justice has prevailed, but barely. Gabe drags himself toward the wormhole checkpoint. Gabe has to strip off his burning shirt, but he cannot get far enough away before the wormhole opens. The cosmic portal grabs all three men, dragging them back to the Alpha Universe and Multiverse Authority headquarters. The Multiverse Authority supervisors cannot immediately tell the difference between Gabe and Eulor, and both look exactly the same. In their confusion, they grab Gabe and prepare to send him to the Stygian penal colony in the Hades universe. They are literally seconds away from condemning an innocent man to eternal imprisonment. Evans notices something crucial that the supervisors missed. There is a tan line on Gabe's finger where his wedding ring normally sits. It is a small detail, but it proves his identity and his innocence. Eulor gets sent to the prison colony, and his molecular breakdown appears to be particularly painful this time. The Multiverse Authority prepares to send Gabe back to his own universe, but there is a significant problem. Since Eulor committed multiple murders while looking exactly like Gabe, the local authorities will arrest him the moment he returns. Gabe seems resigned to this fate. With TK dead, he feels like he has nothing left to live for anyway. Prison might be exactly what he deserves for failing to protect the person he loved most. But Evans has a different plan. One that bends the rules but serves justice in a more meaningful way. He remembers Gabe's story about how he first met his wife. It was at a veterinary clinic where he had brought an injured dog for treatment. Evans takes control of the transport machine and reprograms it to send Gabe to a universe set in the past. Specifically, he sends him back to relive the greatest day of his life, when he met TK for the first time. With all other variants of himself now dead across the multiverse, Gabe can slide right into this past version's life. He gets a second chance at love, opportunity to protect his wife this time. Meanwhile, Eulor wakes up in the Stygian penal colony, surrounded by what can only be described as the worst criminals from across the entire multiverse. Eulor refuses to accept his situation.
You are mine. You only need to know me. I am Eulor. I will be the one.
Then he proceeds to fight an entire army of charging prisoners, standing atop a pyramid like some kind of action movie hero battling impossible odds. And that is where our story ends. If this recap helped you decide whether to watch the movie, smash that like button because it genuinely helps me know what kind of content resonates with you.